From Lee as a leprechaun to this scene here in Lexington. And for years, Florida, Kentucky was about the streak. But Big Blue Nation is long gone from being bullied by the Gators. Head coach Mark Stoops says, oh, we got a new streak. 2 straight Cat wins in this heated series and a fan base ready to roar for more as we welcome you to ESPN College Football presented by Zales. Kroger Field is where a busy day of SEC football gets underway and where the winner today will take a big step forward. The unbeaten but yet to be truly tested Kentucky Wildcats hosting the 22nd ranked Florida Gators. Joe Tessitore and Jesse Palmer, as always, with you here. Florida and Kentucky, Jess, both with elite defenses, both with good running games and playmakers, and both with transfer quarterbacks that came in with hype. But both still have plenty to prove.
This feels like a show-me game in a lot of ways for both of these programs coming into this one. Kentucky, you mentioned, they're 4-0. It really haven't been challenged, though. Vanderbilt, the only Power 5 team they've played so far. On defense, they stopped the run. They've gotten takeaways. They've done a great job running the ball with Ray Davis. But Florida, easily the toughest challenge for them. And then if you're the Gators, at this point, you're trying to prove that the Tennessee game just wasn't a fluke. Their defense has been elite. They've gotten really efficient play at quarterback from Graham Mertz. They do a great job running the ball. So I think we're going to find out today, maybe, just maybe, could these be one of the 2 teams that might be able to push Georgia in the SEC?
Boy, that Tennessee win did get a lot of attention. No doubt. It changes the way you think about Florida. Now for the other side, Katie George, the fans here in Lexington. They came into the season with a lot of high expectations because of the transfer quarterback, Devin Leary.
Tess, Devin Leary hangs his hat on his accuracy. He has this gunslinger attitude that he can put the ball wherever it needs to be. And yet through 4 games, he recognizes he hasn't necessarily shown that. Even though this team is undefeated, Tess, he's been frustrated with some of the decisions that he's made. He's even apologized to offensive coordinator Liam Cohen for appearing to be careless with the football. Cohen says he's had to remind Leary, this is a new system, new players, you've never been under center. It's going to take some time. Together, these 2, though, have the confidence that Leary can execute as needed today to beat Florida, Tess.
It describes him as a different kind of leader, and perhaps this is the week where things click a little bit, but Jesse, he is facing a very dangerous defensive line.
The Gators D-line is playing an elite level right now. They've got a lot of NFL talent up front. Uman Miel and Sat Jackson Banks are all going to play on Sundays. Big, fast, athletic guys who are violent. They can stop the run and do it without having to bring extra guys in the box, so they can get after your quarterback off the edge. They can collapse the pocket. This D-line for the Gators goes about 10 deep. So they've always got fresh bodies coming on the field, and they come at you in waves. That's going to be a big challenge for Kentucky's offensive line and Devin Leary to handle.
Remember, Florida had won 31 straight games against Kentucky. And now Kentucky has won 2 straight. Kentucky won the toss. They elect to defer. The capable and dangerous Trevor Etienne is back. We'll see if he gets a chance off the boot of Chance Poor. Welcome to your College Football Saturday from Lexington. As Graham Mertz, the transfer from Wisconsin, is in his first year as the starting quarterback at Florida. On the road could be a concern, not just for the Gators, but Mertz himself. He has a 6-8 record as a starting quarterback on the road.
Well, after an up and down 3 years at Wisconsin, not a lot of people were overly excited when he transferred into Florida, but you've watched him this year. Not overly flashy, but he's been efficient. He makes the throws he's supposed to make. He makes completions and doesn't turn it over, and as a result, he's really kept this offense on schedule.
A lot of window dressing as they shift the tight end, as well as Ricky Pearsall, the exceptional wide receiver who's in jet motion. They'll start on the ground with Johnson, who's tackled after just a gain of a yard. That was Trevin Wallace bringing him down.
This is a big challenge for the Gators, trying to get the run established against this front 7 at Kentucky. They are so physical, and they are so big up front right now, giving up only 77 rushing yards per game. That's tops in the SEC.
Second and 9. Mertz, pressure coming after him as he is taken down. It was D'Eriq Jackson hunting down Graham Mertz.
Well, Graham Mertz is hot. He doesn't have any running backs in the backfield to blitz this blitz up. And there's bringing two guys off the edge, so the ball's got to get out of his hands quickly. He never even saw it off the get-go in Kentucky, and the speed of D'Eriq Jackson able to bring him down to set up 3rd and long, and here comes the crowd noise at Kroger Field.
Last time they were here, they struggled with communication on the road at Kentucky. See how they deal with it now. Third and 15. Johnson with blockers in front. He turns the corner, and Montrell Johnson runs the ball for a first down on 3rd and 15. Geiger eventually chased him down. There is a flag down. We'll check on that. It is back at the 27. They could be walking it back.
Holding. Offense, number 22. That's a 10-yard penalty. Replay. 3rd down.
Well, they had done such a good job getting into the second level, blocking on that zone play to free Johnson, but it's the holding penalty that's going to bring them back on receiver Khalil Jackson. You see the left guard in the center getting up into the second level. Jackson's up top. At the point, he just throws down a corner on the ground. That was Maxwell Hairston, and now it's 3rd and California, Gators.
Billy Napier, his 2nd year as the Florida head coach, the 44-year-old. 3rd and 18, Johnson again. And he's able just to slide ahead past the 20-yard line. Hairston came up from that corner position.
Well, you knew the intensity level coming into this game was going to be high, and for Kentucky, you love that first drive. If you're defensive coordinator Brad White, for head coach Mark Stoops, taking the field, making plays, you benefit from a penalty, and now you're expecting to get the football back in very good field position.
Barion Brown, speedy sophomore, back to return. Jeremy Crawshaw on the punt away for Florida. And this is driven well as Brown all the way back to the 17-yard line. And a flag is down as the punt coverage was quick to get to Brown. A 59-yard punt by Crawshaw.
I think it's going to be a block in the back on Raymond Jefferson for Kentucky.
Big boot from Crawshaw, his 5th punt over 50 yards this season.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 22 on the return team. Half the distance. First down. Correction, that's a 10-yard penalty.
Joe, talk about completely flipping the field with that bomb. You talk about how important special teams is, but Crawshaw, that was incredible. And now you tack on the penalty. Kentucky thought they were going to be getting the ball at about their own 40-yard line at worst, and now they're down close to their own 10.
That was the 100th punt of Crawshaw's college career. Devin Leary under center. Ray Davis, excellent tailback, trying to get off right tackle. He's able to bounce it to the outside and go for maybe 10 yards based on the mark here. And yes, it is a first down for the Cats.
How good has Davis been transferring over from Vanderbilt? Tremendous speed, and he has the ability to be patient inside, but here the right decision was to bounce that. Great feet. And Florida's a fast defense going sideline to sideline, but they can't keep up with number 1 from the Wildcats.
At Vandy a year ago when they had the upset win against Florida, he had 122 rushing yards against the Gators, did Ray Davis. Now in Kentucky blue. And look at him with the power and the speed and the cut. It was pad leverage early, and it was Ray with the legs late. 19 yards for Ray Davis.
You know, the ability to make people miss, right? They're trying to push this thing up inside. It's not quite there. Bad tackling and sloppy tackling. He makes Jordan Castell, the true freshman safety, miss. And there's an explosive play early, and now it's Ray Davis taking it upon himself to flip the field back, and Kentucky's in business.
It's top 8 in career rushing yards among active players in FBS.
Wow.
And again, and he is playing with some fire early on as he just ran straight ahead into Shamar James.
Yeah, Shamar James is a big-time inside linebacker, too. Highly recruited coming out of high school. But how about the pad level here of Ray Davis? Low man wins. These are 3 attitude runs we've seen right out of the gate. If you're Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator at Kentucky, I'd keep feeding number 1.
And that could be a big part of their success today. You know how much they'd love to establish things and get the play action. What do we have
this
here?
is the dreaded helmet and helmet connected together.
Look at this. They're
Seen
trying
this
to
a couple
pull
of
apart
times. I mean, we're using our sky cam and spinning it around. There you go.
The interlocking helmets, that's when you know you got some tough football being played. And that really is the style of ball that these teams want to play.
Check this out here on the left side of your screen. There's Dingle 85. He's the tight end, and he's locked head-to-head with Chris McClellan. And it's like they like each other. I mean, they don't hate each other. It's a football game. It's the first drive. They're talking. It's not really trash talk. They're having an equipment malfunction.
Florida showing pressure off the edge. You just saw Davis give the point. Leary thinking about pass protection there. And he goes to the quick game as he gets it to Brown. And Brown does shake free past midfield and right at that line to gain.
You know, this Kentucky offense has a lot of dangerous weapons, Berrien Brown being one of them. He's so quick in space. This is just going to be a bubble screen. You get a good block outside by Dane Key. He's 6'3", but really this is just Brown making guys miss and shaking and baking. And they're going to try to find ways early in this game to get it to him quickly out in space on the perimeter and be a compliment to Ray Davis in the running game.
First down pass for Leary. Straight ahead and nowhere near the intended receiver. That was thrown behind Tayvion Robinson.
You know, one of the issues for Devin Leary this year has been accuracy, Joe. He's missed a lot of throws that he should make. He's also forced the ball into traffic too often. He's thrown 5 picks early this year. He only threw 16 in 4 years when he was at NC State. There's a lot of things he's battling right now, right? The pec injury he suffered last year against Florida State. He's obviously learning a brand new system with a lot of complexities, but I think Devin Leary would be the first to tell you he hasn't put 4 good quarters together in a game yet. Hoping to do that today.
Davis on the run again. And let's check in with Matt Berry for the first time today. Hello, Matt.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. I have your first studio update and your first USC touchdown, which took 2.5 minutes. Marshawn Lloyd just dances all over Prime's defense. 7-0 Trojans. Colorado just punted. USC ball back.
Jesse, you and I spent last week with Coach Prime and the Buffaloes, and we knew there were certain limitations to that roster, and now they're banged up playing USC in Scotland.
I know, and having to emotionally turn the page after getting embarrassed really last week in front of a lot of people watching. It's a tall order.
They're down in 5. Leary looks to the right, is able to get it complete for a first down as he finds Brown.
Yeah, it's a really nice job on the route by Brown and having some access off the snap. He's working in the slot against Jaden Hill. And just a nice example of Devin Leary just playing in rhythm, right? There was no hitch. That ball came out on time. He put it on his receiver's body for an easy catch.
Davis again off to a great start inside the 20 and finally ridden down at the end. And a flag comes in late with that tackle as it was Miguel Mitchell bringing down Ray Davis. But Ray Davis, 22 yards on that run.
It was a really nice job up front, too, with pulling linemen.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 10 on the defense. Half the distance to the goal. It is touchdown.
They got their left guard, Dylan Ray, pulling on this play. This is him. He's going to come in and kick out Princely Uman-Mielen. That kind of opened up the gap for Ray Davis to get through. And at this point, Miguel Mitchell at safety is just holding on for dear life with the face mask. It's an easy call. And how about this drive, Joe, by Kentucky? Started down by their 10-yard line. 5 first downs on this drive. They've been doing it running and throwing. Really nice balance.
Davis with 60 yards rushing, and now McClain comes in at running back on 1st and goal after the penalty. McClain testing the left side, and good pursuit down the line by Florida. It was Castell, the safety, with the tackle. There was the young defensive coordinator for Florida, Austin Armstrong, just turned 30 this summer. He has the #1 defense in the SEC in total defense.
And Joe, starting fast has been a problem for the Gators defense this year. Gave up a touchdown the first play of the season against Utah, gave up a touchdown on Tennessee's opening drive, and here they are with their backs against the wall.
Second and goal to the end zone, incomplete. Intended target appeared to be Dane Key. But remember, you discussed it. Leary comes in with just a 59% completion percentage.
And that's a really bad miss by Devin Leary. That's a simple stick route by Dane Key that he's just going to turn around to the outside and hook up. He just put that on his number. And that's a throw that Devin Leary knows he has to hit. He should be able to make that in his sleep. He did it time and time again during his career at NC State. And that's what's got you scratching your head a little bit, I think, if you're Liam Cohen, Mark Stoops, and a Kentucky fan.
He has publicly said this week, I need to play better. 10th in the SEC in passer rating. Third and goal. Leary with time, lofts it to the corner of the end zone. Oh, and incomplete. Barrion Brown just couldn't secure it.
Well, that's not on Devin Leary. That's a perfectly thrown ball, and Barrion Brown, who's had drop problems early this year, just relaxes. I mean, that is put perfectly into his hands. I don't know if he took his eyes off the football or not. Maybe he's trying to tap dance on the back end of the end zone. But that's a catch he absolutely has to make. And that's been an issue for him early this season.
Alex Rayner has made his last 10 field goal attempts. That dates back to November of 2022 during his time at Georgia Southern. And the 24-yarder will get the day started. It was a long, sustained drive with Ray Davis doing well. That's capped by a field goal for the Cats.
ESPN College Football is presented by Zales, only at Zales, the Diamond Store, and in part by Chili's 3 for Me, the best $10.99 you can eat.
Jesse, that is the magnificent WinStar Farm, the breeding and racing stable here in Lexington. So many of the horse racing folks are huge supporters of Kentucky and Kentucky football. I was getting a text from Bill Farish from Lane's End earlier today, and Ben Hagen from Woodford. I mean, they just love it here. The horse racing community and Kentucky football goes together well.
And they love you. I know you have full access there.
That's because I save the sport with ripped up tickets at Saratoga every August. We'll take a quick break. Cats up 3-zip. Well, Super Saver and Justify must be close by somewhere. Some of the great equine talent.
Oh, into the camera there.
So that's the athletic trivia question. So Jesse tied the Florida single game rushing touchdown record with 4 versus Kentucky. Who would eventually break it? So which Florida Gator breaks the single game rushing touchdown record set by Jesse Palmer? Mertz, play action, gonna take a shot downfield and unable to connect with Caleb Douglas.
You know, and that's big for the Gators offense, taking shots deep down the field, something they haven't really done a lot of early this season. They only have 4 completions of 30 yards or more, and the big reason why, they're not even trying to push it downfield. I think that's something Billy Napier, I think Rob Sale, their offensive coordinator, have been really cognizant of coming into this one, to try to be more aggressive, pushing the ball vertically.
And perhaps that's why Mertz has a 77.8% completion percentage. All the short game. ETN as he gets his way out to the 30.
These third down packages Kentucky has, they've got a lot of exotic looks, and they like to mug the line of scrimmage with linebackers like they are right here. You don't know who's coming, if guys are dropping out or if they're blitzing, and it makes it really difficult on quarterbacks and offensive linemen to figure out who to protect and who to let go.
Look at big Deion Walker eyeing Graham Mertz on 3rd and 5. They drop 8. And that ball's intercepted. And on the return is Wallace inside the 20. He was looking for Boardingham. It was deflected, and Wallace picks it off.
Well, how about the big body Deion Walker, all 6'6", 350 pounds of him. He's one of the guys who actually drops out. Look at him right here in the middle of the field. He's in coverage, and he's one of the guys that gets the hit and pops it in the air. It was Trevin Wallace that was coming on a blitz, and he had the awareness to turn around, locate the football, and Kentucky gets its 9th takeaway of the season, which leads the SEC.
Brad White's defense, time and again, they come up big. Last year, there were key interceptions against Florida. And now this sets them up at the 15-yard line. Pitch to Davis. Short side of the field, has to cut back and was able to keep his balance to the 10, run down by Scooby Williams. The story for Kentucky in this defense, the takeaways, and they do it again.
Well, they've got ball hawks all over the place. It's not just on the back end picking passes off, but they play with great effort. They fly to the football. They're physical. So for Graham Mertz, you got to be careful with your decision making, and ball security has to be at a premium when you're playing Kentucky. And that turnover, that is a massive play early in this one.
Davis went for 6 yards on that run. Leary going to check it down to Davis. Davis makes the first man miss and works his way right to the end zone. Touchdown, Cats.
He made 2 Gators miss. It was Scooby Williams first at linebacker out here on the perimeter. Then he gets into the second level. It's Miguel Mitchell missing, and he runs right over the Georgia transfer, Jalen Kimber. Ray Davis at this point of the game is simply unstoppable. That's the best pylon cam I've ever seen, Joe.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful work by the pylon cam down there.
That is pure eye candy that Ray Davis just ate up. He is playing possessed. Ray Davis has 6 carries for 66 yards and then just willed his way in for that 9-yard touchdown reception. Lowering the shoulders, putting the boom on Kimber, and Kentucky, with that effort, is up 10-zip on the 22nd ranked Gators. Remember all the years Mark Stoops had to hear about the streak. How about Florida winning 31 straight? Stoops turned to us yesterday and said, we're starting our own streak. And Ray Davis is all bought in, smashing that pylon. What a setting here in Lexington. What a start for the Cats, especially with their featured running back, Ray Davis, who has been just awesome early on, Katie.
As Tess, being a Vanderbilt grad, Mark Stoops said what Ray Davis did in this league last season, what he did to us last season was so aggravating that I knew I wanted him on my team when he hit the portal. He said Davis is efficient, he's patient, he allows holes and gaps to open before punching it. He's able to create yards after contact like we just saw in that TD. Stoops has been elated with the addition of Davis in his play so far this season, guys.
Yeah, Katie, watching him on film, there's always 1 or 2 plays a game where you say, wow, how did he do that? I feel like he's already had a couple of those runs early in this first quarter.
Florida only has 12 yards of offense. Mertz with time, and that's off the mark, incomplete, looking for Jackson. What do you got, Matt Barry?
Joe Tess, I got a big one for you in the SEC. Arkansas, Texas A&M. Max Johnson. This offense looks different with him at quarterback. Evan Stewart for 6. Arkansas just added a field goal, 7-6 Aggies.
So Max Johnson is 5 for 5 for 73 yards and a touchdown to open the game as the new starting quarterback at A&M. after Connor Wigman is now out for the season with a foot injury. Johnson on the ground. Only about 3.5 yards.
Now it's going to set up another third down. Remember last time, Kentucky looked like they fooled Graham Mertz a little bit. They were showing blitz up the middle, and they dropped some defensive linemen out. If you're Brad White, that's kind of the cat and mouse game as defensive coordinator for Kentucky, trying to confuse this offensive line and trying to confuse a very experienced quarterback in Graham Mertz. He's making his 36th start today.
There is Brad White, his 6th year at Kentucky. Rhode Island native who's been a star coordinator in the SEC. 3rd down and 6. 4-man rush. Mertz. Walker chasing him. Mertz has to sidearm it for a first down to Khalil Jackson.
Fantastic job of Mertz, just avoiding the rush by Deion Walker, a big 350-pounder who is critical on that last turnover. He's going to come right up the middle, beating the left guard, and Mertz is able to use his feet, keep his eyes downfield. That's a difficult throw going to his left as a right-handed passer to get a big first down. They need this momentum build.
Almost a baseball kind of throw to get the first down. Their first down of the day as Johnson spins ahead as he was first contacted at the line of scrimmage, and Jackson makes the tackle.
Yeah, Johnson and Trevor Etienne, I think, are the best 1-2 punch at running back in the SEC, and they've got to touch it a lot. Both guys are pretty similar to one another. They've got good feet, they've got good vision, they can make you miss, they have speed, and they can run the same plays in this offense. It's not like one guy's the physical one who goes between the tackles, the other guy's the speed guy, so it doesn't tell the defense what's going to happen based on who's in the game.
10 personnel, 2-by-2 on 2nd and 7 with Johnson flanking Mertz. And he's able to get it to him right away as pressure was coming from the right side as Johnson surges ahead.
And that's part of the reason why Graham Mertz is completing 78% of his throws, because he finds checkdowns early. That time, Kentucky trying to bring pressure off the right side of the formation. He quickly knows where his outlet is. Give it to your playmaker to go get something positive.
Got 6 yards, so it is 3rd and very short. Johnson, and he will easily get the first down as Florida has gone past midfield. We brought up the completion percentage of Graham Mertz, came in at nearly 78%.
Yeah, we've seen 4 of these guys in person already, or at least 3 of them in person this year, and 4 of them are transfer portal quarterbacks, and Graham Mertz's completion percentage is high. Now, a big reason why is because he's not throwing it downfield as much as some of these other guys, but you do got to give him a lot of credit. He makes the throws he's supposed to make. Something that Anthony Richardson didn't always do a year ago, and because of that, I'd argue that Graham Mertz is doing some things better in this offense to keep them on schedule.
Play action, maybe a holding call there, and it doesn't matter for Deion Walker. At 6'6", 350 pounds, he just caves in that offensive line and comes down on Graham Mertz.
Well, he's working against Kingsley Egwaka, the center, and completely overpowers him. Again, 6'6", 350. He's their best player up front. He's just too physical and too athletic, able to keep his balance to come away with a huge sack and create a negative play.
That's a loss of 8. Walker's a beast. He was first-team freshman All-America a year ago, and he's off to a sensational start this year. Mertz on 2nd and 18. That is batted down. That was Jackson who had the sack earlier, getting in the way of that passing lane.
It's a great job of Jackson at linebacker. He's just watching the eyes of Graham Mertz. He's not vacating his zone, and good eye-hand coordination, just being able to knock this thing down, because this was a bullet coming right up top over the right tackle. Big time play in pass defense, and now that sets up another 3rd and long situation.
This Kentucky defense is so active, aren't they, Jess?
Well, it's been a constant for years. I think a lot of people outside of the SEC don't realize just how good Kentucky has been consistently on defense.
3rd and 18. Weaver given pushback. Mertz has to scoot out, and he has no option left whatsoever as Keaton Wade brings him down, and brings him down hard at the end of that play.
That's a nice scheme by Brad White on 3rd down. Keaton Wade, a defensive end, is going to spy the quarterback. He's just going to float here in the middle of the field, and when Mertz runs this way, he's going to follow. I think Brad White has done a really nice job early in this game mixing up his third down looks. Again, the cat and mouse game, trying to confuse this quarterback and offensive line. He's been winning so far early.
Remember, Crawshaw had a big punt earlier. Robinson back to return. We're going to pin him inside the 10, and the fair catch will be right near the 10.
Well, Kentucky went back and brought in Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator this year. He does a lot of things I really like. One is he does a nice job setting up shots. This against Vanderbilt last week. From a condensed split, it's a simple speed out. It's an easy throw for Devin Leary. Then literally a couple plays later, same exact formation. Here's Berrien Brown this time running the out and up. The cornerback's going to bite on it. It's going to end up being an explosive play. I think Cohen also does a really nice job being creative with his motions. In the game, Berrien Brown, this is not just a jet, this is not just a fake jet, but it's going to be a wheel route. They're going to get a pick at the bottom of the screen with Dane Key. So by the time this ball is snapped, Brown now is at full speed down the field on a wheel route for another big play.
That ball by Leary was batted down right at the line of scrimmage as the Florida defensive line got a push, and the linebacker Kelby Collins was able to deflect this. So there is Liam Cohen, who spent a year with Sean McVay, came back to be the offensive coordinator, 37 years old and a rising star.
Yeah, a couple years ago when he was in charge, they scored 32 points a game. That was by far the best under Mark Stoops in his 9 years up to that point. And then last year, he goes and coordinates the LA Rams. They still got Will Levis playing quarterback, but they just didn't have the same amount of success. So that was a big get, I think, for Mark Stoops this offseason to go back and pull Liam Cohen back. His creativity, I think, is something that's really cool to watch on offense.
2nd and 10, ball out quickly, incomplete. It was thrown to the outside of the intended receiver, Jordan Dingle.
This is what I'm talking about here. Some of the numbers they had with Liam Cohen back in 2021, and a big part of that was Will Levis and Wan'Dale Robinson at receiver, but it was the passing game that looked a lot different that season versus others under Mark Stoops. And so they're really hoping this year with Devin Leary coming back. And interestingly enough, Liam Cohen was saying that Devin Leary signing out of the portal was a big reason why he wanted to come and coach this team again, to get an opportunity to work with the NC State transfer.
He's been very important into the assimilation of Leary in this situation. Obviously, some would say not off to the start they expected from the quarterback. That is incomplete off the hands of Brown, but Cohen has been stressing, listen, there's new vernacular, there's things to learn, new scheme, you're under center, give it some time.
But at times, you know, you need your guys to help you out as well, and that's a play that Berrien Brown, it's a tough catch to make, but that's his second drop in this game, trying to settle into a zone that Kentucky's not able to connect on. So, you know, again, playing in a new system, quarterbacks and receivers getting on the same page, that has been a big challenge this year, and you're seeing it play out in this first quarter.
Wilson Berry from his own end zone punting away. Will Florida set up the return or try to come after him? Nope, they bail on return. Pearsall is the return man, takes a bounce at the 50, and he's going to scatter it, and it goes for a good one. Hey, we asked you the Aflac trivia question. We showed you that Jesse Palmer back in 2000 set the single game rushing record against Kentucky with 4. So who broke that record? You got a shot at this?
I think it's pretty obvious.
Who is it?
He's got a statue outside the stadium. Yeah.
And he also wears 15. Tim Tebow had 5 against South Carolina in 2007.
I mean, just so selfish, Joe, honestly. I mean, you just can't let any of the other quarterbacks keep their records. I mean, I worked hard to get that. Nobody had it on their bingo card that I was going to hold that record. And, of course, Tim comes in. Leary wins the Heisman Trophy, decides to go ahead and break it up in Columbia.
By the way, what we saw there is the penalty is going to put them back on the field. Devin Leary, let's get clarity here with what happened with the penalty there. Looked like there was a personal foul on the Florida defense on that 4th down. So with that, that is going to be a first down for Kentucky. And that's a head shaker, as you can see, for Coach.
And that is massive, too, Joe. You think back to the first drive of the game offensively, the Gators looked like to convert a big 3rd down running the ball, but a holding penalty called that back. And now you get that one.
They're going to get them with leaping of the shield is what they're going to get them with. So that is a costly penalty that puts Kentucky back on the field. And then Ray Davis, all day Ray. Look at him go. Man, oh man, is Davis doing it up. 75-yard touchdown for sweet baby Ray. After a penalty put the offense back on the field, Ray Davis says, thank you, I'll just do this. There's 23 seconds left in the first quarter. Extra point is blocked. Extra point can be returned. Florida may get on the board with 2 right here, but instead chased down.
Let's go back to that touchdown test. And good running is not just offensive linemen blocking up front. You've got to have tight ends, Dingle, and you've got Robinson at receiver getting blocks in the second level, and that is critical. They do a nice job just kind of walling Florida down to the right. And that frees Ray Davis in the second level. Jordan Castell at free safety was slow seeing it. And there's another one of those wow plays that Ray Davis has been able to deliver time and time again to this Kentucky offense early this year.
We want to show you the penalty because they were punting from their own end zone. And this is why they stayed on the field. A leap over the shield. You can't do it. It marches the ball ahead for Kentucky, gets them a fresh set of downs, and Ray Davis rips off a 75-yarder. Let's bring in our rules expert, Matt Austin. Matt, bring clarity to things here.
Well, you discussed it pretty well, Joe. You can't jump over the frame of an opponent when you're rushing. You can go through a gap, but if there's no gap, you can't go over the top. It's a safety factor. You don't want the person doing the leaping to get hurt and get flipped over on his head, which is exactly what happened. So this is a good call.
Yeah, Matt, it's no different really than targeting and hitting with the crown of your helmet. It's a rule that's designed to protect the offending player. I think it's a good rule in terms of safety. You see Austin Armstrong going over and talking.
That was Dijon Johnson, the backup freshman cornerback who's playing special teams, who was assessed a 15-yard penalty. And with that new life, it ends up being the big play from Ray Davis. Let's go to the studio and Matt.
Guys, some good action in your game as I've got your AT&T 5G keeping you connected with our multi-view. Right now, Syracuse just got on the board. They've been down 14-0 against Clemson. They're now 14-7 on ABC. Texas A&M and Arkansas, as you would imagine, an absolute slugfest. UAB Tulane is interesting to watch, and JMU continues to be a great story. They're up 14-0 on the U.
Matt Barry, you better get that helmet sticker with a whole lot of adhesive on the back of it for Ray Davis, because my man in the first quarter has 7 rushes for 141 yards and a touchdown, and has a receiving touchdown, Jesse, where he just willed his way into the end zone. ETN trying to find something and finding nothing as more pursuit by the Big Blue defensive line.
It's just such a good job of Kentucky up front. Everybody staying in gaps. That time, J.J. Weaver doing a great job forcing the bounce outside. This Kentucky front is going to be difficult to run into. They've got a lot of big and physical bodies who can move. And right now, they're winning at the line of scrimmage.
Ray Davis, 2 touchdowns. Cats, 16-zip at home with a crowd that's just bursting.
Coach Napier, how do you get your team to settle into this game?
Yeah, tough break there. You know, we're off the field. We get the ball at midfield there. You know, freshman player making a rookie mistake. You know, we just got to settle in. We're missing tackles. Need a little bit of rhythm on offense. But there's no doubt we got to settle in here. We got to make some plays on offense to get back in the game.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Florida head coach Billy Napier, who's referencing his freshman Dijon Johnson, who was, you see him there, he understands the mistake he made, was assessed a 15-yard penalty that kept Kentucky on the field after they had punted away, and a 75-yard touchdown came next. Graham Mertz, as he tried to check it down, flag is down as he was looking to get it to Boardingham.
Might have been defensive holding in the backfield for Kentucky, trying to cover Ricky Pearsall.
Matt Leffler heads up this SEC crew.
Holding on the defense, number 28. It's a 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
Well, and you heard Billy Napier just telling Katie that they've got to get their composure and regain that. And that's something as a team you need to learn how to do when you're playing on the road in hostile environments. You got to have a sense of urgency from the opening whistle, and that's just something the Gators have lacked here in recent years. Consider this, the Gators have lost 14 of their last 16 games away from the swamp. They look good against Kentucky or against Tennessee playing at home with all that crowd noise, but when you get away from Gainesville, you still have to have that same energy and execution.
And now in a hole, Etienne just clogged up after a yard. So during the Billy Napier era, they're 1-4 in true road games, 1-6 overall. Obviously, the Georgia game is played in Jacksonville, and then the Las Vegas Bowl last year, nobody wants to ever remember again.
No doubt.
That was dismal.
And I think people were curious to see if this team was for real. We talked about this being a show-me game after Tennessee, but even when you watched the offense against Charlotte last week, very lackadaisical, weren't executing great, and they're off to another slow start here today.
Here's Etienne on the backfield. Etienne was chased down from behind, and it was Oxendine making the tackle of Trevor Etienne.
You know, you get the feeling on this critical third down, a guy that has to touch the football is Ricky Pearsall. He's their best receiver. He's their best route runner. And on critical down and distances, that's a guy that Graham Mertz likes to look for. Lined up here at the top of the screen.
Third down and 4. They're showing safety edge pressure as Pearsall motions. Etienne, boy, they had that every which way. Fitted up perfectly and pushed straight back was Etienne. Trevin Wallace in on the play.
I think Walken at center is not able to get up to the linebacker here. He's going to try to chip up to get this guy, but he's held a little bit by the defensive tackle. Does a great job holding his point. That's just unbelievable run defense at the point of attack, being more physical than the Gators up front.
Crawshaw on to punt again for the third time. Robinson is the return man. Gonna let this bounce, and it goes into the end zone for a touchback. Today's hardest working player is brought to you by Duluth Trading Company.
I wonder who.
Yeah, look no further.
How about Ray Davis? And he really got it kicked off on the very first drive of the game. 3 straight runs, showed you the speed outside. This is an unbelievable individual effort, making 2 guys miss and then running over another on his way into the end zone. The last drive, after a critical penalty on 4th down, gave the Wildcats the football back deep in their own end. It was house call, Ray Davis. How many yards is he averaging right now, Kerry? Oh, 20?
Yes.
Like that?
20.1.
That's ridiculous. It's like high school.
He's making it look like high school. Feed the beast. And they cannot stop him. Ray Davis, shifty, explosive, and dynamic today.
I just want you to take a look at the vision and the patience that Ray Davis had. He's going to have 2 guys pulling from him. Watch him just kind of settle down right here, and then he allows the hole to open up, and then he's got that burst. Once he sees it, puts his foot in the ground.
And here he goes. Ray Davis past midfield. Nearly kept his stride before Castell just got a shoe.
And what's unbelievable is that this is against a Gator defense that held the Tennessee Volunteers to just 3.3 yards a carry. And they did it basically with 5 guys in the box. They have no answer right now. They are getting pushed around by the big blue wall up front. No one's able to make tackles in the second level. And Ray Davis is getting his Heisman campaign kicked off here today.
Florida came in with the #1 total defense in the SEC, giving up only 144 yards per game. Davis alone has 190 rushing in this first half. Jefferson, as he makes his way to the 26-yard line.
You get the feeling for Florida defensively, they need a stop badly. They need something positive to happen. It cannot allow a touchdown. And all of a sudden, this thing's 23-0, and it feels like it's way out of hand with about 10 minutes to go in the second quarter, Joe. A momentum shifting play. Somebody on the Gators has got to step up and just say enough is enough.
193 rushing yards given up by Austin Armstrong, the young defensive coordinator. His defense need to find a solution and find it quickly. 2nd and 6. Jefferson in orbit motion. They give it to Brown as he reverses field and is able to get inside the 15-yard line.
Well, it's a nice job of Liam Cohen marrying what they've been having success with early in the game, right? It's running the ball, it's pulling linemen. Everybody on Florida's defense thinks this is run to the running back, and now you bring in Barry and Brown on the reverse. All that fast flow of the Gators defense, you take advantage of it. It seems like right now everything that Liam Cohen right there is dialing up is working, especially on the ground.
See Liam Cohen up in the booth. He is play calling masterfully here early on. This time Jefferson is taken down as knifing in was Uman Mielen.
Well, one of the things I really like about this offense from Liam Cohen is that it's a nice blend of pro-style schemes and spread schemes, right? They go under center, they play with tight ends and fullbacks, they go I formation, and then they spread you out. They have run-pass options. It's a lot of volume to have to prepare for if you're a defense. And certainly something that the Gators would have seen a lot of different things coming in, and right now, man, they are on their heels.
Davis back in, and Davis back to action as he spins his way inside the 5-yard line.
And just phenomenal vision again as Kentucky's pulling linemen. It's a simple power play. It's designed to go to the right side, but Davis sees the cutback to the left. I mean, he's showing you all of the tools in his toolbox here early in the game.
Jordan Castell is down, outstanding true freshman safety. And we will take a break as the training staff goes out to see Jordan. 1st and goal Cats when we return. 18-0 here and looking for more. Tight end shift on 1st and goal. Leary under center with Ray Davis in the backfield. Davis pushing ahead, and Davis is in. Ball came out, but the hands went up as a touchdown, Kentucky.
Rolling on the field is a touchdown.
And remember, all it takes is one pimple of leather on pigskin to cross that plane of the goal line, and nothing else then matters.
Well, it was the true freshman Kelby Collins that was first to make contact with Ray Davis. He's trying to fight in. Yeah, I think that's going to be a TD. Looked like the ball crossed the plane before that right elbow hit the ground. I think that's going to stand. Another attitude drive for the Kentucky Wildcats, all on the back of Ray Davis, who has just been running obsessed today.
Ray Davis is eating them up. He has 206 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, has a receiving touchdown. And with that, the 4-0 Cats, 23-0 against a ranked Florida last week. And he's a total sneakerhead, just like our ISO producer, Carly McCall, who went on that shoot.
Yeah, how about the Louis Vuitton sneakers?
Oh,
pretty
LV.
Impressive. And Pharrell Williams, by the way, now the new creative director of Louis Vuitton.
You like that move?
Yeah, it's been a big move. I think retail sales prove that.
House of Gucci is a new designer as well.
Well, you can get guys out of the
Italiana is going to be flying, my man.
Kentucky has found some good portal additions. Louis Vuitton found a good portal addition in Pharrell.
Exactly. Katie, I'll tell you, the transfer is working out pretty well.
Yeah, it is. When Devin Leary and Ray Davis hit the portal, they were connected by a mutual friend test. Davis told me they started texting, FaceTiming, just talking about their vision for their next landing spot. They quickly realized Kentucky could be a possibility. So when Leary went on a visit here to Lexington, he loved it. He immediately texted Davis, said, hey, I'm going to commit. Davis said, all right, I'm in too. So they committed on the same day, becoming this unexpected package deal. And so far, they've done exactly what they talked about back in December, Tess.
And just for Davis, his 3rd college team. He started his career at Temple. Right. He was at Vandy a year ago. And now, I mean, this is like superstar level stuff today.
And kind of under the radar, too. A transfer that a lot of people didn't really talk about. But, man, the impact he's had.
Mertz with time. Out of the backfield is Johnson, who can't spin free. Alex Afari with the tackle, and Matt Berry with this update on the Buffs.
Yeah, Shador and Colorado Test able to get on the board here. Jimmy Horn Jr., nice toss by Shador. 21-7, they've got the ball back. Looking to make it 21-14.
It's going to be big for Colorado. Obviously, no Travis Hunter out there playing. Weaver at receiver hurt too, so Jimmy Horn Jr. has got to be able to step up because you're trying to go toe-to-toe with Caleb Williams all game long.
Horn's the player who had the thriller against Colorado State to help tie that game late. Mertz, shallow cross. That is blown up. Jonathan Odom driven back by De'Aaron Jackson. Statement tackle.
Jackson has done an outstanding job in this game in coverage. You've seen it a couple of times in zone, watching the eyes of the quarterback and then driving on the ball. Jonathan Odom's lucky he was able to hold on to that. But this Kentucky defense is flying around with bad intentions, and now comes another critical third down with this exotic front from Kentucky.
Flag comes in pre-snap.
False start. Offense number 8. 5-yard penalty. It is third down.
If you thought Kroger Field was loud then, wait till you hear it now, because they know they're making an impact. Third and 12. Pressure picked up over the middle, and that ball, much needed completion as Khalil Jackson hauls it in from Graham Mertz.
I love the anticipation here by Graham Mertz. He's got Jackson running a curl route right in here, and there's going to be a window between 3 defenders that Mertz has to fit this thing into on time. Quick pitch, get it out, right on the face mask of his wide receiver to get a huge first down.
Mertz with time, going to take a shot. And what an effort, but an incompletion as Pearsall thought he had it. Last week he made one of the all-time great catches. On this one, he can't get it. Phillips had coverage.
Andrew Phillips does a phenomenal job. That's a perfect throw. It looks like it's going to be a catch, but Phillips is able to get his hand in there.
Personal foul. Hands to the face on the offense. Number 65. That's a 15-yard penalty. Number 9 may remain in the game due to the foul.
That's on center Kingsley Iguacan, and he's missed 3 of the first 4 games with a leg injury. He's had his hands full today. He's been beat a few times up front trying to run block, and this time another penalty up front. You see just getting the hand up a little bit too much into the face of Keyshawn Silver, the North Carolina transfer. We talked about the Gators having to take shots downfield. It finally looked like they had a big one to Ricky Pearsall, their best receiver, but just better coverage on the back end. Kentucky's defense, Joe, in every facet has looked fantastic.
Firing off. Penalty makes it 1st and 25. Mertz scanning and incomplete. That was behind Hayden Hansen, the 6'6" tight end. So, Jess, this gets the day started here with SEC action. Some interesting SEC games, including LSU and Ole Miss at ESPN at 6 o'clock. 2 highest scoring teams in the league.
Yeah, and we've seen LSU in person, Joe. How good do they look right now throwing it? The weapons they have with
Just
Malik
great.
Neighbors and Brian Thomas. They're just taking over right now. Ole Miss, though, going to get some key receivers back in that game, too. But Jackson Dart's going to have to play big time if he's going to try to keep pace with Jaden Daniels and all those weapons.
Look at all this talent on Kentucky, by the way. You see Walker and Hairston. And a timeout is going to be used by Florida. That is their first of the afternoon. And we will take a short break with them on this day when the Cats are roaring at home. You know, it's interesting you bring that. Listen, sometimes we forget 18 to 21-year-olds out on the field, right? The inconsistencies. Everybody talks about Penn State. All they talk about is what's coming up down the road with October 21st against Ohio State, and then November 11th against Michigan. You got other games to play. You got to show up every week.
Every week.
Mertz play action on 2nd and 25. He's going to tuck and run and get out just beyond the 30. Weekend lineup is brought to you by Wendy's Beef.
I tell you, Kansas and Texas is interesting. Texas's front on defense has been outstanding, getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. 13 sacks on the year. But Jalen Daniels from Kansas is easily the best quarterback that they've seen this year. That'll be a fun one to watch at 3:30.
That is coming up on ABC, middle of your day. Third and 16, 3-man rush. Mertz with a man in his face gets it out to Pearsall. Pearsall made the first man miss and then makes it out to the 40-yard line. It'll be 4th down from there.
The Gators just cannot seem to get any rhythm going on offense. Penalties are setting them back. Mertz also in the pocket. He's becoming increasingly more and more under duress. How about the athleticism that time? By Keyshawn Silver, a little somersault action and then getting a hit on Mertz, forcing a completion but another punt. And now Kentucky with an opportunity to add insult to injury here with about 5 minutes left to go in the half.
Robinson back to return. Going to take a bounce inside the 5 and nearly check up for Jeremy Crawshaw. And as he said, boy, I had a chance there. Hey, want to remind you that tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, exclusively on ESPN Plus, it's the NFL London game, Falcons and Jaguars from Wembley. You can go to ESPNplus.com or download the ESPN app. Got a lot of the regulars on our crew over there in the UK. Tearing up Mayfair and Soho.
Across the pond.
CK and Bert, and Greg on camera.
Yeah, and stay west, friends. Stay west.
Oh, very much so.
Knightsbridge, Chelsea.
That's not Mayfair. A Chelsea crowd, my man.
They're in Spitalfields. Way out. They might be on their way to
They're
Essex.
not having a cocktail at the Fumar at Claridge's, trust me.
They're having a pint in Essex right now.
First down for the Cats. Up 23-zip. And a timeout's going to be used by Kentucky. Coach Mark Stoops, he recognized the fact that, hey, they hadn't had the schedule that was really something that people would open up their eyes to. You got Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, you win at Vandy, and this was going to be the prove-it day. But he felt very confident this week that they would indeed prove it.
I'm just so impressed the mindset that Mark Stoops now has this Kentucky team playing with and what the expectation level is. They came into this game expecting to beat the Florida Gators. When I played in Gainesville, this game was a W for us. We were worried about Tennessee, Georgia, Florida State. But what Mark Stoops has been able to build in 11 years from a talent standpoint and from an expectation level, what he's created. And when you've beaten Florida twice in a row when they're ranked, I mean, you create that expectation. The success and the job Mark Stoops has done here in the SEC has been phenomenal.
You know, you mentioned 11 years for Stoops. Think about that for a moment as McClain takes the handoff. Jess, 11 years. But Katie, tenure in the SEC. It's just Saban and Stoops, all the coaches that have come through in 11 years.
Tess, Stoops says he's grateful because he's seen a lot of really good coaches come and go in the SEC. During that tenure you're mentioning, he's watched 24 head coaches get fired in the SEC. Good coaches, too, by the way, some that have accomplished a lot. So he says that he doesn't take his time here in Lexington for granted. There's been a commitment from both sides that's still intact, which is rare, as you guys know, this day and age.
2nd and 8. Quickly out to Brown for a first down. But Jesse, 24 SEC head coaches have been fired in the span of the 11 years that Stoops has been the head coach of Kentucky.
I mean, you know, fan bases in the SEC, they're not very patient. I mean, they'll run you out. They expect you to win yesterday, not even immediately. As soon as your introductory press conference is over, you're officially on the hot seat in the SEC. And what Mark Stoops has been able to do, coming to a place that was predominantly a basketball school, he's made football relevant. And when you go around campus here in Lexington, when you see their facilities and you're seeing the talent on the field now, again, what Mark Stoops has done, it's just been awesome.
Leary, quick strike, incomplete. That was off the hands of Brown. Coverage came from Jason Marshall.
Second and 10 at the 34.
McClain testing the right side. Nothing there as the Florida defense with big Cam Jackson collapsing.
And that's the biggest surprise to me so far in this game, Joe. You and I talked about it as we're driving over here today. We expected the Gators D-line to completely dominate up front because of all that talent they have. For their D coordinator, Austin Armstrong, we expected them to be flying in the backfield, making plays, but the big blue wall, Kentucky's offensive line, they showed up here today. And they've been more physical. Look at this.
223 rushing yards given up today when they average only giving up 82. Third down and 9. Leary. Oh. That ball should have been picked, and Jason Marshall could have been running the other way.
It's been that kind of day for the Gators, Tess. That's one Jason Marshall is going to wish he had back because that puts 6 up on the board. That's going to be a house call. He's a very talented young corner. He was the #1 corner coming out of the 2021 high school class. Remember, he was the guy that gave up a post touchdown the first play of the season against Utah. Tennessee threw a fade touchdown on him later, and he had a chance right there. That was a gift from Devin Leary. Very lucky that was not a pick 6.
Wilson Berry, the 25-year-old who played Aussie football, out to punt. Pearsall with the fair catch at the 25. A beautiful afternoon here in Bluegrass Horse Country. Gators with the ball when we return.
Into the studio before halftime.
Wow, that Columbus to BDL commute can get the best of everybody.
It's treacherous.
It is treacherous.
Joey Galloway's found that out once or twice throughout his career.
They got flights on Friday night, Jess?
I think it's
first down.
I don't think it's Friday night.
Mertz able to keep it alive and get it to Pearsall.
Really nice job by Mertz. He's seen that a couple times in this game. When plays break down, he's able to extend it and keep his eyes downfield here. Pressure coming off the right edge. Nobody blocking Derek Jackson. But he's able to find Pearsall, and that's only Pearsall's second catch in the game. Again, he's their best receiver, and he's a guy whose production, it's got to go up.
Etienne catches a seam, and Trevor Etienne as he rolls his way past midfield for the Gators.
Finally, the Gators are able to get into the second level in this zone scheme. Left guard Richie Leonard doing a nice job getting a hat on a linebacker, and they've got to get these running backs going as well.
They got to get points here before halftime. Back to it with Etienne.
Got a lot of time. Obviously now just under 2 minutes here, deep down in their end. You don't have to go too fast. You can make sure you get the best play call in and communicate it to Graham Mertz. But I think Billy Napier knows this is sense of urgency time ramping way up.
Minute and a half to go before halftime. Second and 5. Graham Mertz going to take a shot, lofts it downfield. Great effort by Caleb Douglas. They're marking him down at the 1. He went up and over Andrew Phillips.
And Caleb Douglas is their biggest wide receiver. He's a bit shaken up here on the ground after the catch, but again, that's the 3rd time now they've taken a shot deep down the field. Couldn't come up with the first 2. How about the high point by the 6'3" wide receiver, and almost stretches it to the goal line for a score.
Look at this effort at the end to try to see if he could get the goal line.
Wow.
That was Caleb Douglas at 6'3". a Texas native.
And it was Andrew Phillips, Joe, that had that great breakup on the post throw to Pearsall on the last drive. This time, though, he didn't have a shot. Douglas, nice release, just uses his speed. And he keeps it vertical down the field, so he's giving himself space to work with. He didn't float away to the right-hand side. Mertz just puts it on his body, and that catch radius of their big receiver comes up with a massive play. You saw the right elbow go down there, Joe, a little bit early. Looks like they'll spot this one on the 1-yard line, but finally the Gators offensively coming up with an explosive play that they needed so badly here at the end of the half.
And you also saw, Jesse, with that effort that Douglas was able to make, he knew that Phillips was going to be all over his lower body, and he didn't care. He was extended, and with that, Phillips came crashing down on the lower body of Douglas.
And for them, scoring a touchdown's big, obviously, Joe, here too. Not just for momentum before going into halftime, but remember, Gators got the ball first in this game.
That's right.
So Devin Leary, Ray Davis, and those guys are coming right away in the second half with possession. These next couple plays here down on the goal line, this is critical. It's massive for the Gators.
Douglas is limping after the 34-yard reception where he gave everything he could, and it's only the second time that Florida's in Kentucky territory today. And Katie George down on the field reporting that they are going to take him into the training room for an x-ray. First and goal, Florida.
And the red zone has been an issue for the Gators this year. They've only scored touchdowns on 11 of their 19 trips. You see, that's third worst in the SEC. They've got to be good down here where it's hard to throw against a very physical front from Kentucky.
First and goal, Etienne is the running back flanking Mertz. Got to get something. Tripped up, slipped up in the backfield as they are marking Trevor Etienne down.
Yeah, it looks like he stepped on Graham Mertz's foot. His right foot. And Graham Mertz's left right here. There's just a little bit of contact, and he goes down. Honestly, Joe, I don't think he was going anywhere anyway, because look at the penetration by Kentucky and all those blue jerseys just living in Florida's backfield.
It's a loss of 3. Second and goal for Billy Napier's offense. Mertz to the end zone. Touchdown, Gators. Hayden Hansen.
And it was the play fake that froze a couple of defenders in the back end. These two right here. And that's going to allow Hansen to get in behind it. Nice job riding with the running back there before rolling out. Putting it right on the money. That is a massive touchdown for momentum and for the confidence of this Gator offense.
Give credit to Caleb Douglas. That big reception where he reached out inside the 1-yard line. They had to have a big play. Mertz gave them the chance, and Douglas delivered on the big play. And with that, finally, Florida breaks through. And now a quick word from Cheez-It.
I'm RG3Z. See you next time. Hey, who changed my name to RG3Z?
Me? It's a great combo. Like college football and Cheez-It. You like?
You cheddar believe it.
And how will college football fans feel?
They're gonna be feeling the
cheesiest!
Woo!
Hayden Hansen, 4-yard touchdown reception.
It's going to be really critical for the Gators to get the run game going so the play action can be a big factor in the passing game here, right? Nice play fake opens up Hansen in the back end. You're right, Joe. It was the big catch by Caleb Douglas that got them down into that position. I think for Graham Mertz and this offense moving forward, Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, they have got to be a big factor running the football and getting that established to create some balance, which can open up more play action opportunities to take more shots.
And that's how they get the passing game going, with the play action. But 23-7, you start to make some different kind of decisions. They need to stay consistent. They had to have that score, as this kickoff is going to bring the flag out as it goes out of bounds.
Kick out of bounds on the kicking team, number 29. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
Hey, Sunday NFL Countdown tomorrow. 2 and the Dolphins take on the Bills. We're going to talk about how surfing has inspired their touchdown leader. And a look at how Taylor Swift has become the talk of the NFL. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Monday Night Football, Seahawks, Giants at MetLife. That's 8 Eastern on ABC on ESPN. Peyton and Eli on E2. Boy, I am just shocked to see that there's a Taylor Swift promo connected to the NFL. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow on Sunday NFL.
It's transcendent. Have you seen Travis Kelce's jersey sale?
It is. It went up 400% within 24 hours.
People in Naples are wearing Travis Kelce jerseys now because they're Swifties.
Ray Davis, nothing there. Excellent first half from Davis, 206 yards on 12 carries.
I mean, I think that's been the story, Joe, right? I mean, outside of a couple penalties and the critical turnover, Kentucky's been dominating this game in the trenches, running it on offense and stopping the Gators' rushing attack.
You mentioned it, Kentucky will receive the second half kickoff, 23-7. Ray Davis, 206 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, also has a receiving touchdown. The Cats, Mark Stoops said, hey, we got our own new streak. Here's Katie with Coach.
Thanks, Tess. Coach Stoops, how would you assess your defense's play in the first half?
Defense has been pretty solid. I'm really disappointed. We missed a sack on that last drive that led to a touchdown. That's a big miss. I mean, you can't miss, and we paid for it because we ended up giving up 7 points there. Outside of that, playing relatively clean defensively.
What can you say about the afternoon Ray Davis is having?
He's having a big day, definitely. Receptions, the runs. I think that was the key for us coming into it for both sides to have some success running the ball to set up some play action. So hopefully we can continue to stay physical.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could be a record-breaking day for Ray Davis. 23-7 as we head to the studio for our halftime report, now featuring Joey Galloway. Kentucky, and the home crowd feels the scoreboard is the same way. In fact, for Kentucky, with this lead against a ranked Florida team, a 16-point halftime lead, that is the largest they've had against a poll-ranked opponent in the last 20 seasons. Joe Tessitore, Jesse Palmer, Katie George with you as Kentucky will get the ball to start the second half. Barrion Brown is back to receive. And on the return from the goal line as he wiggles his way out past the 30, and that's where they will set up shop for the offense that includes Ray Davis with 206 yards rushing.
How many?
For 206 yards and a half of football. Hey, Austin Armstrong is the young defensive coordinator for Florida. What is the answer? How do they stop him at this point?
Well, first off, they've got to be way more physical at the point of attack. That's something they've been able to do through 4 games coming into this one. They're getting beat up front. If that doesn't work, then if you're Austin Armstrong, you got to consider putting a safety in the box and adding numbers. The problem then is you're setting up one-on-one opportunities for Devin Leary to take advantage of on the outside. But the fact that Ray Davis is averaging 17 yards a clip right now on the ground, you're expecting him to get a lot of carries here in the third quarter.
Had a 75-yard touchdown run after a big penalty that kept Kentucky on the field. They're able to fill that gap a little better as he goes ahead for only a gain of 2.5. Scooby Williams with the tackle.
Well, I don't think Kentucky's going to stop running until Florida can prove that they can slow him down. And that time they had their safety Miguel Mitchell playing downhill hard, getting an extra safety at the point, try to slow him down.
These are the 200-yard rushers against Florida since 2000. Those are full games. Ray Davis had 206 in the first half. You start to think about perhaps the all-time Kentucky single-game record. It's 299. Here's Robinson as Robinson will turn upfield for a Cats first down.
That's a good decision by Devin Leary there in an RPO. That could have been handed off to Ray Davis, but he had a look he liked to the outside. He spits it out to the Virginia Tech transfer to go make something positive.
11 yards from Robinson. Davis. That was well blocked and a cut, and Ray Davis is adding to it.
And again, it's Kentucky pulling offensive linemen at the point. That time, Jager Burton, the right guard, is going to be coming in and kicking out Ramon Mielen. And there's the crease. You see the linebackers try to slip blocks. They're not there in their lanes. There's another missed tackle in the second level. And Kentucky, with these pulling schemes, have been taking advantage of the Gators.
They go with the quick strike, and that goes for 10 yards as he connects with Baryon Brown.
You know, with run defense, you got to have guys fill spots, right? And you got a linebacker and Scooby Williams going right up the middle. Shamar James that time tried to undercut a block. And they just don't have any answer right now for these pinning and pulling schemes that Kentucky and Liam Cohen, as offensive coordinator, are dialing up.
This could be a historic day for Davis. He sits at 240 yards, and we just started the second half. Davis patient this time as the big blue wall tried to push the pile ahead and just get to the 10-yard line.
And Joe, you're seeing the volume that Liam Cohen has in his play sheet with respect to running the football. That time you bring a receiver, Sumo-Karngbaye, the NC State transfer, into the backfield for a two-back look. And just trying to paint different pictures. Liam Cohen doing a nice job with his formations and his personnel groupings. It's not the same run concept each and every time, which is part of the problem the Gators are having on defense stopping, because they're getting so many different looks.
2nd and 7, can get a first down at the 3-yard line. Tight formation. Davis straight ahead, lowers the shoulder, be 3rd and short.
But also,
tackled by Williams.
Every time he's getting hit, Joe, he's falling forward.
Always.
I mean, you've seen the speed from Davis, and you've also seen the power. And he's going up against much bigger linebackers. We've seen him run over Shamar James, and that time Scooby Williams. Again, showing you all the tools in his toolbox. Almost 250 yards. We just started the third quarter.
Averaging over 15 yards a carry, had a 75-yard touchdown run. 3rd down and 3. Leary to the end zone. There was a lot of contact, and that brings out the flag, as Baryon Brown was the intended target and Jason Marshall was tied up with him.
We've been talking about Ray Davis, and how about this time blocking off the edge and allowing Devin Leary to get this football out. And then on the back end, it's Jason Marshall, who dropped the pick 6 in the second quarter. This time grabbing a little bit too much of the jersey there on Baryon Brown to give Kentucky an automatic first.
Baryon Brown, who was the intended target at the end of that play, is still down. Want to remind you that we have more college football coming up later today on ABC at 3:30. It is number 24 Kansas facing number 3 Texas. And then tonight, Notre Dame, coming off that drama last week against Ohio State, at number 17 Duke.
You got to wonder, can Notre Dame turn the page emotionally after that loss against Ohio State? And Sam Hartman's been putting up phenomenal numbers at quarterback, but he's playing against a Duke defense that's only allowed 5 touchdowns in 4 games.
1st and goal for Kentucky after the penalty. Big Desmond Watson in that front needs to find a way to stop that guy, Ray Davis. And they can't. A penalty flag is down. We'll check on that. It's in the end zone. But Davis crosses the goal line again.
Illegal substitution on the defense. More than 11 on the field. That penalty will be declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
4th touchdown of the day for Davis. 3rd rushing.
Yeah, just bad penalties. This one wouldn't have been legal in Canada in the CFL, because I think the Gators had 13 guys on defense that last snap. We've seen some bad penalties from the Gators in this one, inopportune moments, right? Throughout the course of the game, offense, defense, and special teams.
This Kentucky offense, that big blue wall up front, they are paving the way, and Ray Davis is having one of his great days in college football. 30-7.
That last touchdown, the substitution problem the Gators had on defense, check this out, 13 guys. Illegal in the CFL even.
Wow.
Kentucky only had 9 guys blocking, and they still ran it in.
Notre Dame could have used that defensive count at the end against Ohio State rather than the other one.
That's what they needed.
Katie?
Yeah, it says Billy Napier was happy to get on the board before half. He said we finally started making some individual plays offensively. He said pace can help us here in the second half, so look for an uptick there. Of course, he wanted to start the half with a stop, didn't get it, so moving the football becomes even more imperative for the Gators here.
Yeah, Katie, I think pace is going to be big, and tempo, and changing that around, but they've also got to get back to running the football. Only 46 rushing yards at this point. Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, they have got to be a factor here in the second half.
These long drives from Kentucky and this 30-7 lead. Mertz drives the ball complete for a first down as Mertz is able to connect to Andy Jean, who's a good-looking true freshman.
He is, and his snaps are now going to go up. Eugene Wilson banged up a little bit, missed last week's game against Charlotte, and we saw Caleb Douglas go down at the end of the first half, so young players have to step up.
Johnson getting around the left side, and Johnson able to skirt that sideline for a Gators first down.
Well, they've had success in this game when they've run it going to their left-hand side behind their left tackle, Austin Barber, who's really athletic, and taking advantage of that to try and get the edge for these running backs to use their speed and get around.
And here is that tempo, that offensive pace that was just detailed. Mertz looking downfield, and he's going to tuck and slide. As Safari was coming in, Oxendine was trailing Mertz.
It's been one of the more underrated aspects of, I think, Mertz's career at quarterback is his ability to make one guy miss and then get up the field. You saw Mark Stoops tell Katie he was disappointed with his defense missing a sack on the final drive of the half that ended up leading to a touchdown. Nice job there.
Johnson taken down, couldn't get back to the line of scrimmage as it was Alex Safari with the tackle.
He took a massive shot. Johnson very slow here getting up, and that's just the way and the attitude that Kentucky's been flying around with on defense all game long, Joe. They're just heat-seeking missiles everywhere. They've easily been the more physical team today.
That's the 6th tackle for loss for Kentucky, a 3rd down and 5. Brad White's defense looking for another stop against these Gators. Mertz steps up. Mertz taken down 3 yards short of the line to gain as the pocket was collapsing and Wade was able to get to him.
All right, that time Brad White decided to bring everybody. He lined it up 6 across, and they just rush all through these gaps. Florida didn't have an answer. Graham Mertz forced to step up, 4th down now, and they've got to go.
Fourth and 3. They're 2 of 7 on 4th down this year. Mertz gives it over to Etienne. Etienne with a blocker in front. And Etienne takes it ahead as Mertz was going down and just was able to get it over to Trevor Etienne.
He made that way harder than he needed to. Khalil Jackson was wide open right over the ball in the shallow cross. He doesn't see him. Somehow he's able to stay up on his feet with Trevin Wallace all over his body, gets it to Etienne, and that was a first down the Gators needed so badly.
Trevor Etienne went 17 yards after getting the ball. First down, Florida. And Kentucky's going to use a timeout. Let's take a quick timeout with DoorDash. They took a look at that fourth down play to see if Graham Mertz at all was down before he was able to get rid of the ball, but the play was confirmed a good play as Etienne went ahead and was able to move the chains for a Florida first down.
It was an amazing job by Mertz just being able to stay on his feet and locate Etienne to flip that football to him, but he made it harder than he needed to because you got Khalil Jackson right here just running a shallow cross over the middle of the ball, and it's about as easy as it gets. You just play pitch and catch, move the chains. End result, though, the same for the Gators here. First down, needing another touchdown here.
Mertz on first down. Wide open, Pearsall going into the end zone. And let's see where they mark this to touchdown, Florida. Officiating crew took a pause, but Pearsall took it in. 33-yard touchdown for the Gators.
And it looks like the Gators are going to go for two after that touchdown catch. Which you wonder a little bit about here, Joe, because if you just kick the extra point, it's a two-possession game. But here's Pearsall at the end, just doing a great job with individual effort up and over and into the end zone.
So Pearsall with the 33-yard touchdown reception, and now the Gators offense staying on the field to go for two.
The problem here, Joe, if you don't get it, of course, you still need 3 scores to tie
on the field
or win.
with a touchdown. The previous play is under further review.
Yeah, to your point, if you just kick the extra point, it's 16. It's 2 possessions,
That's
16. But if you miss this 2-point conversion, if you don't get it, it's 17.
I think they got to talk about it.
You push the limit there.
You know, going back, there was a phenomenal job by Ricky Pearsall fighting through a whole lot of traffic to even just get open on this play. On the deep crossing route, then he opened up on the other side, and remember the ruling on the field was that he got in.
Our rules expert is Matt Austin. Matt, when it comes to the pylon and that leap, what are you looking for?
Well, the ball has to cross over or inside the pylon. In this case, the runner did not touch the pylon at all, so that's not, goal line extended is not in play. But if it went over or inside, it's a touchdown.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there to overturn. Unless you've got a perfect angle, that's a tough one to overturn, so I'm not surprised with the stance.
Looks like now the Gators are going to kick the extra point, Joe.
That's
the conversation we were just having. That is the smart play. The math says here, just go for one. Still a lot of football left.
Why take the risk of it being a 3-possession game when you know for a fact the extra point keeps it a 2-possession game?
And the problem is you still got to somehow stop Ray Davis, but that's
the bigger issue.
That's for Austin Armstrong, their defensive coordinator, to try to figure out right now.
So Schmack comes on for the extra point, and with that, the 7-play drive produces a 2-possession game.
How about this route by Pearsall on this touchdown, too? It's a deep crossing route. You got to fight through traffic, right? There's one guy, there's 2 guys, there's 3 guys, 4 guys. You spin to the inside, it's not there. You're clapping your hands, throw it to him. I just did all that work. I've got to pay this thing off and score and put it on the gram. Pretty good effort, but Joe, I don't know if that was as good as last week.
Oh, I mean, we were going nuts over this last week. Look at his catch. The one-hander. I mean, you could say it's Odell Beckham Jr., except he gets smashed by converging defensive backs at the end of it, Katie.
He told me that it happened so fast. He knew that the safety was crashing down and that he was going to take a big hit. So he thought the fastest way to make the catch and come down with it was by grabbing it with one hand. Never mind the difficulty of executing that plan. He said it was by far the best catch he's ever made, and he can see and appreciates the Odell Beckham Jr. references.
Yeah, Katie, it was as good as I've ever seen. Tyrone Prothro was the best catch I've ever seen. Remember Alabama against Southern Miss, caught it over his back, did a somersault. But one-handed, backhanded, Air Jordan, and you get clobbered by 2 guys. Pretty good.
You know, in this day and age, too, you can cash in when you do something like that.
I mean, it looks just like the logo on the cleats or on the jersey.
So the shirt came out right away. Ricky Pearsall New day and age of college football. You make one great play, and let's print up those shirts. And then speaking of Jumpman, well, there he is going in.
Look, there's a T-shirt that could have that on it somewhere. Down
Something.
the road.
Great athlete.
I mean, you need inventory.
Devin Leary on first down as he throws a strike to Tayvion Robinson, and the Cats on the go again.
And I like Liam Cohen right now, just staying one step ahead with his play calling. Everybody expects them to run the football. Ray Davis is having an historic day, so throw play action on first down in an obvious running situation. Move the pocket with a naked and just make these throws easy on Devin Leary.
You know, I don't know that there have been more offensive coordinators in recent years where people have made a bigger deal as to a hiring, especially when it's a guy who left and then comes back. But you're starting to see what Liam Cohen is all about. And he grew up in football. He said, listen, my father, Tim was a guy who started a Division III program, Salve Regina, up in Rhode Island, among the mansions of the Rosecliff Manors in Newport, Rhode Island. He's starting a Division III football program. His grandfather was a football captain at Boston College, so he grew up going to games in New England, living in the locker room day in and day out, breathes it.
Well, that football knowledge is percolated, obviously through the old gene pool, but you got to give him credit because he's cutting edge too with a lot of the things that he does. And it's not things that are necessarily obvious, I think, to people at home watching, but schematically, formations, personnel groupings, he's on the forefront.
Pre-snap penalties come in on what was 2nd and 8. Today you're seeing the total balance. And also, when you know you got something going, you just keep going back to it.
Illegal snap on the offense, number 75. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Joe, I'm impressed with this big blue wall up front for Kentucky. They had to replace some people off of last year. Last year, giving up 3.5 sacks a game. They only gave up 4 coming into today. They went to the portal. They got some more talented guys, and you've just seen how they've dominated in the run game today. 268 yards already against an outstanding D-line.
Davis gaining extra yards, and Eli Cox, you just saw the center there, but just to the side of him is Dylan Ray, who's the transfer from West Virginia as a sophomore. He is in today for Kenneth Horsey, who's really their war daddy up front. Team captain kind of guy, senior, big experience guy. There's Horsey, who couldn't play today. So you got a guy who many would point to and say is your best offensive lineman. Ray steps in, and they're having an outstanding day.
He's been a big part of this rushing attack, Joe. We keep talking about them pulling. He's been out on the perimeter, kicking guys out, sealing guys, and making life a lot easier for Ray Davis.
Third and 9. Florida trying to pressure Leary, who's unable to get it into the hands of Dane Key. That's incomplete.
Catch the ball. I mean, this has been a problem early this season. I know Devin Leary hasn't always been perfect, but that's a ball that Dane Key just has to catch. This is an all-out blitz. He's hot. He's got to get rid of it. It's a great route. I know it's behind him a little bit, but that's a catch that Dane Key could make. We've seen Berrien Brown drop a few early in this game, drop the touchdown pass. The passing attack, they're just not hitting on all cylinders. It's not one guy's fault, but they need to be more consistent.
You get the sense that this is an opportunity for Florida as they get the ball back. Trevor Etienne on the punt return from the 15. First man misses, and then the coverage gets him. But here we are under 5 minutes to go in the third. Florida just came down with Pearsall the touchdown. Now the ball back in a 2-possession game. What can they offer up when we return to Lexington? NFL game, like, you know, they do that animated Toy Story effect. It's going to be broadcast in Toy Story form.
I'll go Doppio Spro.
Like, I'm Doppio Spro Toy Story rocking that
thing. I'll go macchiato for that.
Yeah, God, stain that cream. Mertz quickly gets it away as he goes to the freshman Gene again. You know, we described this as an opportunity possession for Florida. Defense did their job finally, right? And now you get the ball back.
You're down 2 possessions, and very quietly, Graham Mertz has been playing pretty well. And he's got his offense within striking distance here. If they can get one more score, all of a sudden the momentum back on the side of the Florida Gators. You've heard this crowd here at Kroger Field just getting a little quieter these last 2 drives.
Pearsall in motion. Boy, that was an awkward snap as they just get it to Johnson on 2nd and 4. Pearsall's running jet motion. The snap almost went through his legs.
Yeah, they're very lucky that wasn't a disaster. Fumble, recover, touchdown by Kentucky here. Watch this. They do a lot of this. Pearsall actually had to slow down and lift up his shin so that wouldn't get hit. And now, 3rd and long scenario, 3rd and 2 against this Kentucky front that, man, they're physical, and they had not been given up anything in between the tackles running the ball.
Florida's 3 of 10 on 3rd down. 3rd and 2. Johnson straight ahead. Oh, he's going to be just short. He's going to be about a football short of that line to gain.
Looked like it was Alex Afari. He was locked up with Hayden Hansen, and he just did a better job winning at the point of attack and made the tackle. Oh, that's not good for the Gators. That's Austin Barber, their starting left tackle, extremely athletic. He's been their best offensive lineman early this year. We've already seen some key guys go down. Billy Napier's.
Yeah, Barber is an athletic freak at left tackle, but this was a critical down and distance.
He's up at the top of the screen, number 58. Ball kind of runs in behind him. He's locked up with Khalil Saunders from Kentucky. Oh, jogging off, man. It's got to make you breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief if you're Billy Napier. So it's 4th and short, Joe, deep in their own end.
From the 29, Jesse. 4th and short from their own 29.
The Gators have not been running it great so far in this game.
ETN is going to be the featured back here.
They bring Lindell Hudson in now at the left tackle spot without their star lineman in the game. It's an unbalanced look, Joe. All the heavy bodies to the right side of the formation.
ETN. Oh, there's so much finger pointing up front as ETN was lined up for the direct snap.
False start. Offense, number 54. 5-yard penalty. It is 4th down.
When Kentucky beat them here a few years ago, this crowd had a huge impact. Oh, you see him surging into the neutral zone there with Wallace. And then there was the movement, the 7th penalty against Florida for 60 yards. And that sends out Jeremy Crawshaw, the punter. What a difference that makes. The 3rd and 2 to come up just short. The penalty on 4th down.
Critical moments in this game, Joe. Going back to the very first drive of the game on 3rd down when they had a holding call that would have given him a first.
It's fielded at 24. Hey, we were able to wire up Devin Leary, the Kentucky quarterback, earlier.
Yeah, bro. Mic me up, man. I tried to tell Slacks, I'm like, I'm not going to give that much content. I barely talk pregame. Fellas, how we feeling? How we feeling? Great day to have a great day. Oh, yeah. Great day to have a great day. Woo! Routes on air on the 5, Yep. Have a day, fly around, have fun. Have fun with it. Let's go now.
Getting the guys all fired up out there. Calhoun, your spotter, and I were down on the field pregame watching him. He looked like a Navy SEAL out there throwing the ball around. Kind of got that vibe.
Davis going ahead for more. You know, Liam Cohn, the offensive coordinator, said, listen, he has a little bit of a different way of leading. He takes it down a notch. He's the guy that can be calm and really connect with players.
I think it's important. I think you have to be able to show composure, no doubt about it, especially in big moments. And this is one here, too. This is one where they need to drive. They need to sort of reestablish themselves with momentum. They're going to have to run the ball, but the Gators are expecting it. So Leary's going to have to make some throws.
Only 69 yards passing. You don't need to pass that much when Ray Davis is having an all-time day running the ball. Quick game. Robinson. Blocker in front as he's tripped up just at the end.
You know, Jesse, Tess, Cohen will also tell you as an OC, he can be emotional. He gets a little too high, a little too low, whereas Devin Leary is extremely level. You mentioned, Tess, that calm nature about him. Cohen says Leary's presence actually helps balance him out as a play caller, which has been really important given that this is such a young group on offense.
3rd down and 4. Gators defense desperate for a stop, and they get it. That ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, right off the edge.
Well, the Gators were bringing a corner blitz. Jakeem Jackson, the true freshman, coming up, and Devin Leary's going to the right place. This is going to come here, and he's throwing a quick out all the way to the outside to Dane Key. But this ball just gets batted down right off the helmet of Jackson. And that's a big stop the Gators needed here to hopefully get the ball back in good field position if you're Billy Napier.
First 3 and out for Kentucky today. They've had scoring drives where they didn't even hit a 3rd down, and that's their first 3 and out. Wilson Berry, 6'4" Australian. They're coming after him, and he's able to get it away as Pearsall lets it bounce inside the 25, inside the 20, inside the 15, and on it rolls. SEC Conference Spotlight is presented by T-Mobile 5G home internet. You want to see offense, you got a good one tonight with LSU and Ole Miss.
Yeah, the crazy part is that Ole Miss really hasn't been able to get their star running back Quinshon Judkins going early this year. They're going to have a test against a very physical front of LSU. If you're a fan of throwing the ball vertically down the field and receivers winning one-on-one, check out Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas right now at LSU. They've been fantastic this season.
Florida's going to start at their 13-yard line with just over a minute to go here in the 3rd. Etienne, that tackled for a loss. Keyshawn Silver. Brad White, outstanding defensive coordinator for the Cats. Mertz to the outside as he gets it to Gene. And Gene's going to be a yard shy of that line to gain.
Well, they've been trying to roll Graham Mertz outside to his right. One of the things he does well, I think, as a quarterback, he throws well on the move. You've seen a few examples of that here in this game. This Kentucky front has been doing a great job getting upfield, and they're going to need Mertz's ability to extend plays here in the 4th quarter if the Gators are going to come back.
And when we come back from that 4th quarter, Katie will be with head coach Mark Stoops. Cats in control. Don't go anywhere.
Coach Stoops, what do you have to see from your team in the 4th to close this out?
Well, we've got to be more efficient on 3rd downs. We had one drop. We missed a throw over there. Offensively, you knew they would get some things fixed in the run game, and you know we've got to be able to throw and catch. Defense, we're going to have to step up and make some big stops, so it's going to be a tough 4th quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesse, Mark Stoops was so chill there with a 2-possession lead against Florida to start this 4th quarter.
Well, I think he just understands and knows where his team is and what the expectation level is for them. We've talked about that. In this rivalry, he expects his team to go out nice this thing.
What a difference a few years makes as they go with the quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1. Keep in mind, when Florida was rolling through Kentucky all those years, 87 and 2017, you were a part of those wins for Florida. That was the longest win streak against any single conference opponent in SEC history. What Florida did to Kentucky was worse than what any other SEC team did to any other SEC program.
And it just goes back to what Mark Stoops has been able to do here over the course of 11 years, talent-wise, but it's the mindset and expectation that he's created, which I think makes what he's done so special.
Quick game again. Gene is getting active in this 2nd half. He's a really big recruit who they're going to now in the 2nd half as a true freshman.
Yeah, he's going to have to make some plays. Some of these receivers banged up. You see a little bit of chippiness going on there with Maxwell Hairston to the outside, but young body is going to have to step up here and make some plays for Graham Mertz in the passing game.
There is Hairston. Had a couple pick sixes last week against Vanderbilt. Only player in SEC history to ever do that. 2 pick sixes in 1 game. Etienne, oh, he breaks free and a first down for the Gators.
Etienne has really good feet. He picks them up off the ground so quickly. It's so hard for J.J. Weaver, any of these defenders, to try to wrap him up. I mean, Weaver's a guy with long arms, a 6'5" right here on the outside, and he's just not quite able to get there because of that foot quickness of Etienne.
Mertz on first down. Oh, sacked all the way back at the 23-yard line by J.J. Weaver.
He does a great job, Joe, splitting a double team. Damian George, and then inside, Micah Mazuka just can't get to him. There's a right tackle has a chance, the right guard has a chance, and he continues to fight until getting to Graham Mertz. Fantastic effort.
Second and 23 after the sack by Weaver. Kentucky's going to call a timeout. Great football weekend here in Lexington. J.J. Weaver, this has been talked about through the years, the special glove. He has 6 fingers on his right hand, so the special glove that he wears, and it was that hand taken down Graham Mertz long ago.
And he used that glove right there, Joe. Helped secure that sack. You know, this is a big game for J.J. Weaver, too. He suffered an ACL injury against the Gators back in 2020. We talk every year about how big of a game this is for Kentucky and their expectation level and what it's become now. But I think for J.J. Weaver personally as well, as a senior wanting to come out here and really dominate. He's played a good game today.
You bring up the ACL tear against Florida. Katie, 2020 was such a challenging year for J.J. Weaver.
It really was, Tess, and J.J. Weaver has persevered through quite a bit of turmoil and tribulations in his life. He's been a beacon of hope and strength for his team.
Etienne with the reception before the ball goes out. Katie, please continue.
Yeah, and I just think what's remarkable is the way that he's really devoted himself to the community here in Lexington. I remember when he visited a local grade school class where 2 classmates had extra digits on their fingers and they felt like outcasts. And then J.J. Weaver walks in and he says, no, I've got it too. We're all cool. And he really lifted up those children and made them feel a part of a cool club. And I just think that speaks a lot to the person that J.J. Weaver is.
And now an opportunity for Weaver off the edge on 3rd and 9. They're going to run it with Etienne.
Well, that just shows you that they knew it was 4-down territory, obviously, running in that kind of situation to try to make this 3rd down manageable. But the issue now is you got to be able to give Graham Mertz time. And Brad White on 3rd and 4th down, he's been so good at dialing up pressures, showing blitzes, bailing guys out, that has caught the Gators off guard here in an empty formation with 5 guys blocking. What kind of look does Kentucky give?
4th down and 4. Mertz gets it complete, but short of the sticks. Arliss Boardingham was a yard behind the line to gain, and Afari brought him down.
That's a phenomenal job by Afari tackling the catch. That time, Kentucky showed a radar look, 4 D linemen in sprinter stances. I think Mertz went the right place with this. Boardingham underneath, but just a better job with the tackle. And Alex Afari is a 6'2", 214 kind of star player, kind of a hybrid safety linebacker, as Mertz takes a massive shot after delivering that throw.
Alex Afari takes that ball right to the sideline there as he gets the 4th down stop, the turnover on downs for this excellent defense. Of course, Coach Stoops takes such pride in defense, and Brad White, who's been his longtime coordinator, you said a prove-it game. They are proving it right now here in this 4th quarter. Start on Florida's side of the field. Ray Davis to add to his big total today. Look at him slither and weave. He's over 260 yards. Ray Davis is closing in on the all-time single-game rushing record in Kentucky history.
And this is just imposing your will, I think, if you're Kentucky running the football, because the Gators have 8 guys in the box. They know that Kentucky's running it, and they still can't stop it. I mean, check this out, 264 yards, the most by an FBS player this season.
This is the best rushing game. This is it right here. What Ray Davis is doing right now so far this season in college football. The best rushing stats this year. 2nd and 5. Well blocked. Another first down and more as he's taking them for a ride. Jason Marshall just got on the Ray Davis caboose and he took him for a ride.
I mean, is it too early to get the Ray Davis and the Heisman Trophy conversation, Joe? I mean, he came into the game leading the SEC in total touchdowns, and he's just put on an absolute clinic, showing you everything. I mean, the speed, the power running, he's been such a weapon. I know there's a lot of players that entered the portal this offseason. Ray Davis didn't get a lot of hype, but this is a name that a lot of defensive coordinators need to become familiar with very quickly on Kentucky's schedule.
He's 26 yards away from the all-time record in the history of the school. As Davis now, you know, they're just going to be feeding him here with this lead in the 4th quarter. So add 2 more yards to it. He's up to 275 yards. The all-time record, Mo Williams at 299.
Who'd have ever thought, Joe, you lose Chris Rodriguez, right? Last year at Kentucky. 3rd all-time leading rusher in school history. And, you know, you're not necessarily expecting a guy to just come in and just fill in those shoes. Ray Davis, I'd argue, has done that and a little bit more early this year with just how versatile he's been. And the home run threat that he's become for this offense is just so explosive.
Caddis now the fullback in the I formation as he will set the block for Davis. Just 1 more yard there. Obviously the Gators front 7 knows exactly what's coming at them.
And still Liam Cohen, I mean, he's showing you those pro principles right now with tight ends and fullbacks on the field. It's nice to have that because this sort of is really a 4-minute situation mindset for the offense. You're up 2 scores. You're just trying to ice the game. You got to run it. It's nice to know that, hey, we can line up in I formation. We can fill and get into the 2nd level, get hats on hats, and get a couple yards and keep possession of this football.
Here's 3rd down and 7. Do they put it in Leary's hands? As that play clock is going to count down every sweet second as they want to bring this thing in for victory. Quick game as they set up the screen. And driven back, a tackle for loss as Demie Sumo-Karngbaye was driven back.
Now Kentucky has an opportunity here to make this a 3-possession game with Alex Rayner, the Georgia Southern transfer who hasn't missed yet this year. Against Ball State, Joe, he was 3 for 3 in kicks of over 40 yards. This guy's been automatic this season.
Made from 24 earlier. This a 50-yard attempt for Rayner. Good drive on the ball. Good rotation and through. A 50-yard field goal for Alex Rayner, who has made his last 12 field goal attempts dating back to November 5th of last year when he played at Georgia Southern.
It's complimentary football, Joe. Defense coming up with a huge stop on 4th down. Offense able to bleed some minutes off the clock, and you get an absolute bomb from your kicker, Rayner, dominating in all phases. Mark Stoops, he loves it.
ESPN College Football is presented by Zales. Big Blue Nation has brought it today, Jesse.
They really have. This crowd showed up, ready to roll here at noon for an early kick, and they brought the energy, and this team's responded.
The road test is brought to you by Goodyear.
Ray Davis, he's just been fantastic all game long, really, and started off running in the inside and bouncing things outside in the first drive, but you've seen the speed, you've seen the vision, his ability to cut get in the open field and make people miss. Consider this guy's already got 6 runs of over 15 yards against the Florida front in defense that had been dominating games leading up to this one. A career day for Big Ray.
False start on the offense. Everyone except the center moved early. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Everyone except the center. That's a group penalty.
Well, you were just talking about the crowd noise here, and 2 years ago when the Gators lost, they had 8 false start penalties up front on the offensive line. And it just goes to show you again, I mean, this crowd, Big Blue Nation, you got to give them a lot of credit showing up here. It's something Mark Stoops had asked for early in the week and challenged his fans to deliver, and they have.
Mertz steps up and then goes underneath to Johnson, and Johnson is hit hard and taken down by Thrower. You know, he had a lot of faith that this crowd, you know, there's a difference between a night game when there's a lot of hydration, a lot of adult hydration throughout the day that gets everybody roaring.
You can start early too, though.
And he had great faith in the good people of Kentucky.
Listen, it's 5 o'clock somewhere at 10 a.m.
2nd and 7. Mertz downfield as he gets it complete to Johnson. Here's what Coach said about the early start and his fans.
I have great confidence in the people of Kentucky that can get up very early and pound some beers.
Big difference between beer and bourbon, guys. Never underestimate Kentuckians, I will tell you that.
No, never. Pappy says so. 1st and 10. Mertz backing up, being pressured, just had to get it away, and does so to Johnson, who struggles to get back to the line of scrimmage.
The second time that we've seen Graham Mertz with someone wrapped all over him. That time as Martez Thrower, bringing him to the ground, but he was able to find a release and avoid a huge negative play. I'll tell you, Graham Mertz, he's been battling in this game. Statistically, nothing off the charts, but he's been efficient. He's playing down to the very last whistle.
Mertz drives the ball and gets it complete past midfield to Khalil Jackson, who's a legacy Florida Gator. His grandfather was one of the first African-American scholarship players at Florida, Willie Jackson Sr.
Terry Jackson also in that.
That's right.
Wore number 22, a teammate of mine. Here's a great anticipation throw again into a tight window, 3 defenders converging on it, and a nice catch by Jackson.
They all wore number 22.
They did,
Dad Will as well.
That's a big number.
As this goes to Boardingham.
And also a nice job there making the tackle by Keaton Wade and keeping him in bounds, right? You got the lead, you're Kentucky, you're trying to bleed this clock. It's just good awareness in this type of situation.
Second and 6. Mertz going to check down to Johnson. Look at how quickly everybody gets to the ball on this Brad White defense. It was Phillips and Afari.
But you see on that play how one guy took the outside and one guy took the inside. Like, they understand the construct of the defense, and I think that's the biggest compliment you can pay Brad White. Watch, there's going to be a corner go to the outside and a safety come to the inside, so there's nowhere for the running back to go. They are sound, Joe.
Yes, they are.
They line up. They play with great effort. You don't see a lot of coverage busts, guys out of their gaps, and that's why they've been a top 25 defense 5 of the last 6 years.
Yeah, this has been going on for, like, this is nothing new. Flag is down pre-snap. Kentucky has held opponents to 24 points or fewer in 19 of the last 21 games.
Offense, number 58, the 5-yard penalty. It is 3rd down.
Think about that. 24 points or fewer in 19 of the last 21 games in this day and age of college football.
Yeah, right. In the era of spread, up-tempo, where everybody's scoring, one thing you can rely on here in Big Blue Nation, Brad White, this defense, man, they are going to bring it every single week.
Gators player is down, and with the medical staff out there, we will take a quick break. That's the center, Iguacan.
Ready to play in this one. Up front, they have been absolutely dominant, holding the Gators at just 2.5 yards a rush. Guys flying around, making plays, getting through gaps, getting off double teams. And they've done a good job dialing up the pressure on Graham Mertz as well. 3 sacks in this game. They've got a critical turnover as well. 8 tackles for loss. Any stat you look at, they have been the side in control when the Gators offense has been on the field. Big Blue Nation has to love what they've seen from Brad White's defense.
You know, student sections across the country competing to be the Taco Bell Live Más Student Section of the Year. You can download that Taco Bell app to learn more. 3rd down and 11. Mertz looking for anything, has to go underneath, and up and over is Etienne. It'll be another 4th down.
Well, they're able to sneak Etienne out on a check down. There's a big hit by Andrew Phillips, who's had a pretty good game himself in coverage. And now a big stop, setting up a 4th down. At this point, you just feel like this is it for the Gators.
Etienne nowhere to go. It's going to be a turnover on downs. Keaton Wade was right on top of it.
We're trying to pull Boardingham at tight end, and there's just so much penetration inside. It's big 250-pound Deion Walker blowing up everything in the back end for the Gators in the backfield. And it's Kentucky, all dominant, all game.
Keaton Wade, tackle for loss, turnover on downs. Big Blue's going to be coasting home with a big W.
We've been talking about how dominant Kentucky's been up front on the D-line. Anwar Stewart has done a fantastic job coaching this unit, playing at such a high level week in, week out. I think Stewart, one of the bright young minds on defense in college football. He played at Kentucky, and also, Joe, one of the Montreal Alouettes' all-time great defenders.
Yeah, Ray Davis just struggling to get back to the line of scrimmage. Flag comes in. The Alouettes, he played on those Alouette teams that won those Grey Cups in the early 2000s.
He did. He was the 2004 CFL Outstanding Defensive Player.
Was he?
He was a teammate of mine back in 2006. I got to know him a little bit, and
those were fun years up in Montreal.
I remember half of it.
Personal
those
foul,
were
face mask on the defense.
Let me ask you a question.
15-yard penalty from the end of the run. It's a 1st down.
Up in Montreal back in the day, Grey Cup. I mean, what was that bar you took to me years ago? I did.
We went to Garde-Manger. You and I went to Garde-Manger. Yeah, it's good. Anwar and I used to spend more of our time.
There?
Oh, yeah, Saint Laurent. We're up and down Saint Laurent. Buona notte.
Your brother killing me on the Mike Tyson argument.
We're having a very mature discussion of whether or not Mike Tyson could be considered a top 5 heavyweight.
By the way,
of all time.
I have to spend a week with him in Saudi Arabia because he's training Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury.
You just said I have to.
Well, it's my work.
Not I get to.
Right, I get to. Excuse me. I get to spend a week with Mike Tyson in Saudi Arabia because he's training Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury on ESPN pay-per-view at the end of October.
The miles.
Those will be some dinners. Tyson versus Tyson. Ray Davis on a potential history-making day. As we told you, 299 yards is the all-time Kentucky rushing record by Mo Williams. And right now, Davis is at 280.
And they're leaving him in the game, too, which is interesting, considering who they play next. It's the Georgia Bulldogs, a game of what looks like the 2 best teams right now in the SEC East. But now they bring him out. You got to wonder, see, I think Mark Stoops is going over. He's giving him the high five. Yeah, I think his day is done. What a day this has been for Ray Davis.
280? Come on now. Think this is going to be a night of celebrating? He deserves a big meal. You got to send my man to Malone's over in Palomar. I think Bruce Drake, the owner over there, is ready for a little NIL deal with Ray Davis. Sweet baby Ray. As now Sumo-Karngbaye, he just keeps adding to it. As the Cats are going to be celebrating. By the way, we went there last night. We went to Malone's last night.
Yeah.
And, you know, Paul Feinbaum's not a big meat eater, but they bring out this Kentucky Wagyu ribeye board that I think weighed almost as much as Feinbaum, and he could not resist.
You know, it's so funny you say that. I just always thought Feinbaum was a tomahawk kind of guy.
Oh, you think he is a tomahawk for a lot of the chatter in the SEC. But it was wonderful. I mean, what a show eating at Malone's the night before a big Kentucky game. Bruce Drake and his team doing Chef Matt, outstanding.
Yeah, Ray Davis should take his offensive line to Malone's.
Oh, please.
On him.
1st and goal. Sumo-Karngbaye, not much there. But listen, let's put this in perspective a little bit. We talked about the streak. All the years of Florida beating up on Kentucky, and then Kentucky breaks through. And then they snap the Florida road win streak, and now you're talking about 3 straight. Jesse, you got to go back to 1951 when Bear Bryant was the Kentucky coach. for the last time that Kentucky beat Florida 3 consecutive times.
It's amazing, and getting your team to play at a high level week in, week out, and not being complacent. That's something Mark Stoops is going to be harping on this team now, because you take a look at the schedule and what's coming up, not just Florida today, at Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, and that's just in the month of October.
College football rankings are brought to you by Capital One. And look no further than the number 1, Georgia. Yep, they got Auburn in the big rivalry game today, but next week, October 7th, it is this undefeated Kentucky team at Georgia.
I think making a statement today against the good Gators front, running for 325 yards. You just know it'll be critical for Kentucky next week, going into that environment against that defense. With all that NFL talent, they're going to have to try and get the running game and Ray Davis established again.
Short pitch to Sumo-Karngbaye. This Florida defense, we said it earlier, Jesse, when we were analyzing this game, when we were getting ready to call, if you said to us, what's the one thing you think is the most reliable, assured matchup in this game? You would have said the front 7 of Florida and this excellent #1 ranked SEC total defense against that big blue wall. It went completely the other way, and the big blue wall dominated.
That toughness of the Gators is now going to get questioned on both sides of the ball, and they've got a lot they need to fix before going on the road and taking on South Carolina next.
That was a big statement win. They proved it, Katie.
Thanks, Tess. Coach Stoops, this was a show-me game, your first big test of the season. What did your team show you this afternoon?
Again, I love the way we started. I thought we started extremely fast. We're physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and obviously had some explosive runs and plays in the first half. Slowed down a little bit in the second half, but you knew the Gators were going to fight back. I mean, you know that's going to happen, so just proud of our team.
What did Ray Davis prove to you in the college football world?
Well, I mean, he was special, today. He's been special. To get those type of explosive runs against the Gators, with the way he runs it and the receiving yards, he deserves a lot of credit. So I'll let you talk to him. He's a baller.
Congratulations on the win, Coach. Ray, what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I had some eggs, an omelet with spinach, and some bacon and ham. That's about it.
When did you know today was going to be a special day?
The day I woke up, my O-line was ready. They talked to me this morning. They said, let's go get it. Shout out to those guys. 2 things. I want to thank God, and I want to thank the big blue wall.
What does a win like this do for this team as you guys prepare to go to Athens next week?
Right now, we just focus on today. When we get in Sunday, we'll worry about what we got to take care of. We're going to focus on this 24 hours, and we're going to get to the film on Sunday. We're going to get ready to work. We know Georgia's a very tough team, defending national champions. We know they're going to bring all they got, so we got to be able to match that intensity, match the physicalness, and we got to go out there and just play our game and focus on us, not anybody else.
What makes you such a great running back?
The big blue wall. That's what it is. I had nothing to do with today.
I don't think so.
I had nothing to do with today. It was my tight ends and my big blue wall. They've been facing a lot of criticism, and honestly, today they was able to show that and show what we can do. I think we almost rushed for 300 yards. So again, it's all thanks to them, all thanks to God, and thank Coach Stoops for letting me come here.
And thanks to you as well. Congratulations on an unbelievable display today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
He refuses to take credit. He says it's the O-line. Names of Flax, Burton, Cox, Ray, and Marcus Cox. But Coach knows Ray was special. Take a quick break and be right back from Lexington.